Welcome to the Becoming the Artist blog show. Today I'm on a special Zoom edition of my series where I explore what longevity means for each artist in their career and what the music industry is about. So my name's Axo. I'm a singer-songwriter from London and a newbie. I've started music kind of recently, so I've been exploring the world of music as a baby, I want to say. And then now I'm talking to other artists like my guest today to dive in deeper on how to stay in the career for longer. So without further ado, Giuseppe, introduce yourself to this audience, who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been doing music.
All right. Hello, my name is Giuseppe Paradiso. I am originally from southern Italy, a small town called Santeramo in Colle, which is near the city of Bari in the region of Puglia. And I spent 25 years there. And in 2008, I moved to Boston in the United States, where I currently live since 2008. And I was brought to Boston for a scholarship at Berklee College of Music in 2007. Well, so basically, something about me. I've been doing music. I started actually to study music when I was about 4 years old, and I'm currently 39. So I've been doing music all of my life for 35 years so far. It's the only thing that I've been doing. Very boring.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And I love music. And so basically, I started to study music when I was 4 years old. I started to take lessons on drum set. So I should say that I'm a drummer, composer, and band leader. I do a lot of different stuff. I've been working as a sideman drummer for many artists, orchestras, bands, internationally between Europe and the United States. And as a band leader, I have been leading a project called Meridian 71, which has been active for about 10 years. And we just published our third album with this project. And this project actually features all of my original compositions. As a composer, I started to write music when I was about 16. So I will go gradually into each section. But so just a general view. Basically, I started to write about when I was 16, and all my life I've been active both as a sideman and band leader, meaning that I was working with other people as a drummer, and at the same time I was leading my own projects, my own concert series, my own events. I've been producing quite a bunch of events between Italy and the US. So I've been doing a lot of things in the music industry.
Right.
I love it. It's not an easy thing to do, especially nowadays. And so going step by step, I was living in Italy, and I started my musical studies, as I said, at a very early age. And I started to take lessons on drum set when I was about 5 or 6 years old.
And were your family musicians as well? Were they?
So my dad was taking accordion lessons at that time. And the reason why I started to play drums was because my dad, I do have this memory very clear in my mind. My dad went to take a lesson one day into a studio of somebody, and this person had a drum set. And so I was about 4 years old, and I look at the drum set, and I don't know what happened. I was like, that is it. That's something that really attracts me. And since then, it's been a non-stop thing, basically. So I started to play with pots and pans in my kitchen. in my mom's kitchen at that time. So that was my first instrument, really. Pots and pans and books. And I still feel comfortable playing those things, by the way. It's my first instrument. And so I started to play like that, and then I started to ask for an actual instrument, and my parents for a while they were like, well, let's wait a little bit, let's wait. It's a loud instrument, also we're not sure you are really into it. But then the thing got really annoying. So my parents, I remember it was a Christmas, and they bought me finally this real instrument, and so I was playing all day long. And also when I was a little older, teenager, I would sometimes not go to school to play drums.
Well, you know what? Drums, I do kind of get your parents a little bit because they are very, very loud instruments.
Yeah.
Whenever you go to see like a concert, I feel the real kind of like core of that live music environment is the drums, because it just gives you that kind of pace and beat.
No,
It's such a powerful instrument. I when I was younger, I was learning the violin, so you can imagine how dreadful that sounds when you don't know how to play. It's a horrible instrument. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
yeah.
learning, I could see the reservations, like actually kind of a loud
Exactly.
instrument.
Exactly. Well, I mean, also being a drummer, it's not easy to actually, find apartments to live in, or live in a city, because it is a real problem. Many people, I mean, even like, heavy professionals, some people still struggle with that, because if you're not able to practice in your house, and
Right.
so it's not an easy instrument to play.
So you went to school to also study music?
So basically I started to take lessons first privately, and then when I was about 16, I applied to the Conservatory of Music in Bari. I studied for 8 years at the Niccolò Piccini Conservatory of Music in Bari, Italy, where I studied percussion instrument. I graduated in all classical percussion instruments like mallets, timpani, snare drums, and all of those. And at the same time, in this conservatory, I also studied composition, and I studied classical piano for 8 years. So my background is really, in a way, from classical music, but at the same time, while I was studying classical music, since the age of 16, I started to play gigs. One of my first gigs was with my brother, who played saxophone, and we had a band. They got me into the band. I was 16. And then at the same time, I started to play with a reggae band from Italy. And I was very young. I was the youngest in the group, and we did a little tour in Italy. So I started in a very early age also to play gigs. And while I was doing my classical training, I was exposed to jazz, and I started to get familiar with jazz music, a lot of world music. I was listening to a lot of African music, also Youssou N'Dour, Salif Keita. So I've been always exposed to a lot of influences in music.
Right.
And that gave me also the opportunity to start playing in different genres, and gig in different genres of music, since like the age of between 18 and 20. I played in flamenco groups, I played in jazz bands, I played in pop groups, I played rock, I played reggae. So I was having a lot of different influences in me, which I personally love music in the broader sense of the word. Of the word. like to me the genre, yes, it's important to know the language and the style. It's important that you study each style very deeply, but I like to see music as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's
As,
amazing. It's amazing that you've had so much experience from not only different genres but also in different countries and different places. So
yeah,
you know, you mentioned you moved to Boston um,
yeah.
to continue your studies. Did you notice any difference between your experiences when you were in Italy? I know you were touring also, but did you notice a shift in your own music style or things that you were learning about a different country?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think that being exposed, living in a different place, you learn so much. First of all, about your roots.
Right.
Second, about the new culture that you get into, and on a musical level. Well, so I came to Boston because of Berklee College of Music. I should say that I had never thought to go to Boston. I basically that year I was about to move to Paris in France. And so I attended some clinics that Berklee College of Music does in Umbria Jazz Festival in Italy.
Mm,
And I was granted with a scholarship for Berklee College.
amazing.
So that basically gave me the opportunity to go to Berklee. And to answer to your question, when you go in a place like Berklee College of Music, the influences are way more than living in Bari, Italy. Not because Bari is bad or something, but it's only because a place like Berklee College of Music is a place that attracts so many people from all over the world. So you basically get to play music with people from, I don't know, Indonesia, England, from Canada, from Senegal, from Japan, from anywhere. And so, and also you get to meet so many great musicians that open a whole world. And I would say that coming to Boston has undoubtedly shaped my music, my personality, my life, my everything. Undoubtedly,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's incredible to experience. Music is all about connectivity, right? It's a way that we connect with each other in other words or music or whatever it is. So having an experience where there's so many diverse musicians must have been incredible. Is this where you formed your collective Meridian 71? Is this was it at the college or outside?
So yes, Meridian 71 was born actually via Berklee. Not everybody in the group has been a Berklee related person, but so in 2011, I was at Berklee College, and some of the band members, the key band members that are still there, like Utar Artun, our pianist, from originally from Ankara, Turkey. We were students at the same time at Berklee College, and I remember seeing Utar playing a concert at Berklee Performance Center sometime in 2011, and I fell in love for his playing, and I said I would love to make music with this pianist. So I had already in my mind this project for a while, and I was planning to make a record already. I already had some tunes of my original music ready to go, and so I got in touch with Utar and other Berklee members at that time, like Greg Feingold, the bass player, Andrew Dow, a second bass player on the first record, with Mark Zaleski, the saxophone player. We didn't meet through Berklee, but Mark is also Berklee related in a sense that he's a faculty at Berklee College of Music.
Mm.
And so with Mark, we actually met at different gigs, and we also right away connected. And so I invited Mark, and the Meridian 71 project. So the name, in fact, actually comes from Boston. The Meridian 71 is the longitude of Boston, and the
Uh-huh.
Meridian 71 West is actually like Meridian that passes exactly through East Boston, eastern part of the
Wow.
city. So the project came from this idea that I had. So a very international group of people that spoke a very common language, the language of music. I had the idea, what better than this to call this project Meridian 71, where all of us from different parts of the globe met on this longitude. And it's like kind of a dream band that I've had for a long time. I don't know why, but I've always I kind of already knew in my life that at some point I would meet people like them to create music. I don't know.
Well, you know what? It seems like a common thread in your life has been almost destiny bringing you to where you need to be, right? With learning how to drum, seeing the drums in that studio. These are all things that kind of
Mm-mm-mm.
happened by chance, but has kind of shaped the rest of your life as well,
Mm-mm-mm.
alongside your career. So, I
Mm-mm.
mean, that's really magical in a way. How have you kind of, 10 years ago you released the Otherness Collection? What was that process, and what was behind the concept of that first project?
So the Otherness collection. So Otherness is actually like a philosophical concept, basically, that comes from Derrida, French. It's a concept that my older brother, exposed me to. My older brother is a philosopher, and so I remember having a chat about like the different, no, well, what's different out there, and as as a musician, for a long time I was struggling um, in finding my own identity, because I was, as I mentioned earlier, I was playing so many different genres and so many styles of music with so many different people that I was finding more difficult to find my own identity compared to maybe the majority of the musicians have one specific genre that they pick and they work in that genre, right? And me personally, I've almost never been like that. I just liked all music.
Right.
And so for a long time I was struggling, like, in a sense, who am I? Am I a jazz drummer? Am I a pop drummer? Am I a world music drummer? I have no idea. I like them all.
Mm.
And so that in reality led me to the realization, well, probably that's advantage, because that means that I speak multiple languages, and to create my own voice, maybe I can find a channel to address all of these languages that I speak, and create my own identity, which that style of music, it's basically something that very often it's hard even for people to classify. What is it? Is it world music? Is it jazz? And so basically that album was born a little bit from this idea of creating this Otherness collection,
Mm.
something that is different, something that
That
is
doesn't quite
other.
fit. Yeah, that is other. Yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
get it. And sonically, I think as well, when you listen to, I was listening to the album earlier today, and you can really see that there is quite. I mean, it's obviously a jazz focused
Mm-mm.
album, but there is so many different elements, and it's almost like a story within the song. Like there's parts of it that feel like you're on a journey. It's
Mm-mm.
sonically going through something as well. So that's very
Mm-mm.
interesting that you say it's about identity and it's about finding your place. Was that one of the reasons why maybe you hadn't explored releasing music prior? I mean, you've had such a long experience, even up till that point, within music. Was that the first time you thought, actually, I kind of want to do this sound, or I found the people that I kind of connecting with, and this is the material we want to put out? Or was there another reason you hadn't released music or maybe you have. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so in reality, I've been writing music, as I said, since the age of 16, but I've always had in my mind to be a drummer, playing as a drummer for other artists, sidemen. And I've always kept the writing, the composing for my own.
Right.
So I've never thought actually to to work as a composer too, like publishing my own music and kind of, you know, doing it professionally. Up probably that album. I started to consider that after many people have told me, why don't you publish your original music? Your original music has a very rare depth, and so you should do something with this. You can't keep it for yourself in your basement. And so I started to listen to some people, and I came to the idea, well, let's make a record. But in reality, I made that record as, you know, my first try. And when you make a record, it's also like a learning process. Your first record, you don't like it. Your second record, you don't like it even more because you want to improve. Or so it's a learning process. And so I would say that was the first time that I thought, okay, let's try and go for it. But up to that point, my writing was pretty much, I was writing for my own and working as a professional drummer with other people.
Yeah, I guess your experience is a little bit unique, maybe in the day and age of musicians starting today, where you've had the experience of working as a professional musician, really touring, doing gigs and stuff like that. What would you say is the one thing that's motivated you to continue going? Because, like we said at the start of this interview, it's a hard industry to kind of feel like you're getting the reward for that energy that you're putting in. So if anyone was watching this and they were a bit like, oh, I've kind of given up, I don't want to do this anymore, what would be your advice to them?
Mm. Well, I mean, I know that many people have this thought, especially nowadays, that it's very hard. It's not an easy job. I would say that if you really love what you do and you really believe in who you are, what you do, you just have to close your eyes and keep going. I think that music, it's a very powerful thing that leads us by herself wherever we have to go. Music will show you the way, and also music anyway, it's a healer. So you go through the struggle, but then at the same time you have music that heals you. And so it's a pain and relief. I would say that if you really love and you believe in what you do, you just have to keep going, and don't pay attention. If people don't like what you do, that's okay. Some people like what you do, some people don't like it, and that's okay. Some people will criticize you, that's fine. Some people will love what you do and they'll speak highly about you, that's great. So I think it's just you that have to know where you want to go, what you want in life, what your priorities are. Once you have this clear in your mind, what you want in your life, what you don't want in your life, what your priorities are, what you really want to do, everything else is just on the side.
Yeah, no, I think you're a perfect example of that as well. You know, somebody maybe sitting in London 10 years ago or sitting in Italy, would they think that they'll be able to connect with musicians from all across the world? You know, you never know where your path can lead you and what that can bring. So
Yeah.
I think it's great advice. So now we've fast forward 10 years later. You're releasing your parallel dimension. You're releasing Parallel Dimension, and this is now 10 years on. And I know you released a couple of things in between. Um, what's the main difference from that first release that you did as a group now to this latest?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I would say the difference is like 10 years of more experience. So I hope I made some improvements. I would say that I feel that there's some changes in my writing, like in a sense that I feel a little more mature in my writing, my compositional and arranging skills. I feel a little more mature. I feel also that it's a little clearer in my mind, the specific sound that I would like to reach, which again, it's still a work in progress. It's not that 10 years later, I exactly know, and that's it. No, it's still a work in progress. And so, but I have a little clearer in my mind the specific sound and what I would like to sound like. In terms of so this is in terms of composition and arranging. In terms of my playing, I also feel that my sound has developed a little more. So I feel that I have a better sound than 10 years ago. My playing is also a little more mature. The sound of the band is a little more defined, especially because in this album, 10 years later, we're still like 3 core members. Myself on drums, Mark Zaleski on saxophone and clarinet, and Utar Artun on piano and keys. So we are the 3 original band members. And so especially between us, our playing right now, we don't even need to talk about a lot of things. We just look each other and we exactly know what's happening. And so when that happens, it's real magic.
You know, it's interesting that you say, I mean, obviously from a listener's perspective, of course there's a maturity between the 2 albums, but it also kind of showcases I feel as a listener, different points in your life. I wouldn't listen to your first, you know, the Otherness Collection and think, oh, they don't sound too together, or they don't. I wouldn't really think like that from a listener's perspective. It just sounds very different. It sounds like a different kind of place you all maybe were in your lives, and now we've moved on to another level. So it's interesting. Obviously, everyone's quite critical of their own work as just human beings. But I wouldn't say it's any less interesting to listen to. I would definitely recommend, if anyone is watching this, to go and listen to each of your records, and you can really, yes, you can see maybe on a technical level there may be some smoothness to it, but there definitely are great projects as you've gone on. So that's very interesting. But yes.
Wonderful, thank you. I personally love to hear the interpretation of you know, like when people listen to your music. I'm so curious to hear also what impression is. So I appreciate you sharing this. Thank you.
No, that's more than fine. I mean, it was a pleasure listening to your latest release, Parallel Dimensions. What can you talk to us about that? What was the meaning behind that compared to your previous records?
Yeah, so Parallel Dimension, the album title, comes from this idea. I mean, another philosophical concept that I've had in mind. Parallel dimension. I was thinking, so when we have an event, not a singular event happening in the same place at the same time, I found it's not that uncommon that different people give a different interpretation to that singular event. And so that made me think that we all have some kind of parallel realities that we live in. If one singular event, so I should actually say first that I started to write this album at the early stage early stages of the pandemic 2020. No, and there was a historical time where there was so much going on a political level, especially on a political level. Health crisis, so many wars going on in the world, so many crazy things going on in the world. We are destroying the planet. So there's so much going on. And there were so many different opinions in a singular event that made me think, really, wow, it's incredible how we all live in the same place, same experience, same event, but we all have so many different realities that we give to that event. And so basically that's the main idea of the parallel dimensions meaning.
That's, yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the point of even listeners, right? People are going to listen to your music in 100, not even 100, infinite amount of different ways, and they interpret it in so many different ways. For you, what's interpretation for you for the album? When you listen back to the album, how does that make you feel? What's the story behind each of the tracks? Like, how does that kind of flow for you as a writer, as a composer?
Yeah. So well, this album, in this album, I really speak about a lot of personal stories, even though there's no lyrics. I should say that I'm terrible with words. I find way easier to express my ideas and emotions through sound. And so in this album, basically speaks a lot like about the personal stories, and it was an album that I wrote in a very particular moment, early stages of the pandemic. So was a time where we really had, I mean, the moment of being closed with ourselves and spending time with pretty much ourselves for a long time. And so there's in this album, for example, in the album, in the track Kaizen, the opening track, that is a little bit a look at my roots of my mom's side of Romani heritage. And the word Kaizen instead comes from a Japanese philosophy, which the meaning of the word is a constant improvement of yourself in terms of mind, body and soul. So that track is like a little bit a look inside, no?
Yes, yeah. So it's more like a self-reflection.
Exactly. Then Memories of the Future, the second track, instead, it's like a piece that in which I wanted to capture a little bit this bombardment of news that we were having at that time. And I also feel, especially living in the US, there was a very particular time with a lot of political tensions. I'm not sure if you remember. Now, I don't want to get too much into politics here, but so we were bombarded by news, and so like it was a moment of history that I wanted to capture somehow in music. And in reality, that piece actually, like, to answer to your question, that piece actually sometimes when I listen to it brings me to tears. Because there's also like so many emotions that you put in your music. And I had the idea to write that piece almost with the idea of being a painter, where I would have a canvas in front of me and I would draw colors. So my writing in that was almost not thinking about notes, but thinking about colors, almost like I was a painter more than a composer. Joriki instead is a piece that talks about my roots from Puglia, being from Puglia, where we have this specific rhythm from the style of pizzica. And pizzica, it's a folkloric dance that was happening in Puglia, into the fields, where you would get a spider bite tarantula.
Okay.
And so people would play with the tambourine, this hypnotic rhythm, and so that would gradually bring this woman in a trance, and she would clean her body from the poison. And so Joriki is a little bit of an experiment that I did with this rhythm, combined with electronics and some modern stuff that I was thinking. And
That one is my favorite off the album. But I don't know,
oh
something about now that you've kind of given the explanation. There was something a little bit tribal about it, something a bit more.
yeah,
Uh, I can't put it into words, but more like there's a traditional element to it, but obviously it's laced with all that kind of modern kind of flavoring over it. So that was my favorite. So now I know
yeah,
the
yeah.
story behind
Thank you. Yeah, many people actually thought that piece is an African
it.
tribal. Uh, it sounds like, and I have to say that there's a lot of similarities in rhythms, sometimes from southern Italy and Africa, because I mean, our history in southern Italy, we are a melting pot of many cultures in reality. And but in reality, that piece, that rhythm is a rhythm that I took from the tradition of pizzica.
Nice.
And so that piece, then on the album we have, it's only the beginning, which is a very personal story. It's actually a dedication to my wife, Anna. And it's a piece that talks a little bit our beginning, which was like we come from two different continents, so we have been at a distance for a long time. It was not an easy beginning, and so that's sharing like another personal story in the music. What other track we have? Parallel Dimensions, the album title track, which we already chatted a bit about that. And Tony, the closing piece, is a tribute that I wanted to do for Tony Allen. I'm not sure how many of you know Tony Allen out there, but Tony Allen was the drummer of Fela Kuti for all of his time. He was a drummer that did a lot of records under his name. He was based in Paris, and he was one of the creators of the Afrobeat,
Mm.
famous Afrobeat. And Tony Allen died in 2020 in Paris, and Tony Allen has been an influence not only on me but on so many drummers in the world. And I wanted to write something in honor of Tony Allen,
Mm.
and so I basically came up with this piece, Tony.
That's amazing.
And so when I listen to that record, to me, music, it's something that I do like where I express my emotions, my ideas. And so when I listen to it, I would say a lot of times, like if I listen with an analytic ears, I never like what I do. There's always things that I hear. Oh, I need to work on this. I need to improve this. Oh, I need to work on this.
I think
But
that's gonna be that's every musician's poison. Everything is never going to be good enough. Never, no matter how
which
much
is
we learn, which is good because we're constantly trying to strive for something greater. So I think it's
exactly.
amazing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know what? It's interesting as well because I'm an emotive listener. For me, it's as much as I'm a vocalist and a lyricist, and I love people who can write really well, sing really well. I listen to music for it to make me feel a certain type of way. You know, I love especially jazz. I think it's one of those genres that is a bit quite. Uh, it's focused on the storytelling through just the instrumentation, through the journey of the ebbs and flows of how music
Mm.
goes. So, um, I mean, it was a pleasure listening to your album. I think it has that same kind of storytelling, I mean, whatever it means to you is obviously a personal journey, but for anyone listening, it really can take you to anywhere really. Especially with the world, how you mentioned last year has been, well, the past few years has been quite difficult for people, and music is one of those things that is therapeutic in a way. So I think it's like a gift. I think music is always a gift to the world because you're able to give somebody some comfort, and that could be from all across the world who you'll never meet, who you'll never really understand, but it gives them something to kind of like, uh,
Mm.
almost kind of rely on and work on. And so I think it's amazing what you've been doing, and it's been a
Oh,
pleasure
thank
to
you.
listen. When you are sharing your music to maybe your close knit family and friends, like your wife, you mentioned there was a dedication to her. Um, do you tell them what it's about, or do you let them listen, let them kind of give you their feedback, or do you give them like, actually, this is about us, or this is about this moment, or do you ever tell them? But
Uh,
like on first listen.
yeah. Well, in reality, so for example, the piece that I dedicated to my wife, she already knew from the beginning because there was a melody uh, that I was kind of whistling one day. We were in Mexico, and I was whistling these, and I said, "Oh, that's a nice melody. I should write a song with this melody." So she already knew something from the beginning. In
Amazing.
that case, but speaking about my close family, sometimes you share what's behind, and sometimes I love to just hear
Right.
what people hear, what people. So not I've also I mean, after you do this for a long time, you publish a lot of music. I publish also like a lot of records as a sideman, and so when you do your first record, yes, all of your family, your friends, everybody, start asking questions. But then when you start doing it weekly, so weekly, people get tired to to ask you questions. So
Yeah.
I think in my family we came to the point. I've been doing this for 35 years, and my family know that I just put music out all the time, and they check it out, and they follow me, they follow what I do. We chat a lot about my creative process too, and all of those things, but like it kind of becomes normal at some point.
Yeah, no, it's like an overload of music. No matter how special it is, it's a lot. Um, so outside your family and friends, like we've spoken very briefly on this new era of music. Connecting with fans digitally is the way forward for a lot of musicians, no matter what genre you are, like to reach different places. I mean, even this interview right now, I'm here in London. Would I have been able to connect with you without these online resources? I'm not sure, but how useful have you found social media? Is this something you've kind of approached openly, or you're a bit like, oh, not for me? Because
Yeah,
everyone has different ideas
yeah,
about
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, great question. I mean, we're living with this. So so I personally think that the social media and the whole internet thing, anyway, it's a very powerful thing. It's a very useful thing. It's a blessing
it. Mhm.
because it gives you so many opportunities that, as you were saying, otherwise we actually don't know if we would have connected. So I see it as a very powerful thing. It's a very useful. I mean, you publish a video right away, you have, everybody can see
Yeah.
in a click.
Mm.
So easy to reach so many people, so easy to reach a new audience. So it's a great thing, but
Mm.
at the same time, I would like to mention that it's like we have to be careful to how we use it,
Mm.
because it can be very dangerous in a sense that it can hurt a lot of people. And especially when nowadays everything seems to be based on how many likes an artist gets on social media, which in my opinion, it's just ridiculous. Because you have great and deep artists that for one reason or another, they can't get likes because maybe they don't like to spend all day on social media. So that does not mean that that person doesn't get 5,000 likes and is not a great artist. Actually, it can be the opposite. Somebody with 20,000 likes can be somebody that is, popular, but I think it's important to look at the content.
I think you're right. It's like positive in so many different ways. In connectivity, I feel like although it's not real human connection, sometimes it's still a connection from people that you would never expect, which is amazing. I feel like the strangers on Instagram sometimes is amazing, right? But it's also part of an artist's social currency. Now, to have, like you said, likes and followers and engagement is almost, it gives some validity to what an artist is doing, but it's not true. An artist with who's not on social media could be the most amazing, incredible, talented person. But now it's kind of a bit warped. You have to be on social media even if you don't want to be, and then you have to play the social media game if you really want to get anywhere with music. So it is very tricky. But talking to other artists, it's mixed opinions. For me, from a non-music, I worked in social media. I worked in community management. It's such a powerful tool, and as long as it stays positive for you, it can be incredible. But there is a lot of toxicity around it too. You're also doing comparisons, like, oh my god, like this person is doing something incredible, I can't do any of that, or I don't have the resources. So it adds a lot of pressure. But yeah, it's interesting to get your opinion on that. I feel like jazz musicians in general have been quite relaxed in their approach to social media. I feel like because it's a lot more focused on live gigs and live instrumentation, and it's more of that music. I was going to say it's more about the music for jazz musicians. And I noticed you also did quite a lot of gigging. You've mentioned that as well, touring across the world. How was it during the lockdown not being able to do that? And it must have been quite difficult not to do something you've always done.
Well, I mean, it's been a very interesting time in a sense that I mean, I grew up playing with people all the time, and like it was, like you get to the point where when you play like 4 or 5 gigs weekly, there's like you go to a gig and you make music with people and you already know what to do, what not to do. So it's going from playing four times a week really to nothing for months. I was a bit scared that when we would go back, I mean, it would take you quite some times to get into that, that zone again, especially not playing for I don't know, for many months. So it was a little interesting, and in reality, during the pandemic, like I was still able, like after the first months of the pandemic, where of course, like I did not gather with anybody, but a few months later, when we kind of had some sort of light at some point, like I was lucky to meet almost weekly at the house of a bass player, John Lockwood, one of the greatest bass players in the city of Boston. I was actually blessed to have that opportunity to meet with him weekly and play with a piano trio. And also some other little things that gradually made me go back into get familiar again with that zone where you are not playing alone, maybe with a stupid computer, but you are playing with a human being again. And so how to interact with that again, how do you get in a zone again, how do you feel comfortable with your body? I mean, like, it's a whole process to play music. It's not just, you know, moving your hands or your lip, depending on the instrument that you play. Like, for me, music, it's a very deep experience, connecting with the people, read the other person that is playing with you, where is he or she going to go. So maybe I'll play a drum fill that can help them indeed. So to get again into that zone, I would say that I was very scared to go out again playing with people and be like, horrible sound, horrible. But I would say that like, then it comes back after that. You do it a few times, you basically get again into the loop. And under other aspects, during the pandemic, it was hard, you know, for so many things. I mean, I basically lost all of my work. At that point, I was a full-time performer. So more than I was living basically out of gigs only. So it's a memory that I'll never forget in my life. March 14, 2020 was when the lockdown started in the city of Boston. And basically, I remember we released my second album with Meridian on February 13, 2020. And we played our release show, which was a blast. It was great. Everything went perfectly. And we were scheduled to play some release tour dates. And I had my calendar filled with gigs for the whole summer, my full-time job. And I remember March 14, my calendar went blank, white. So gradually, all of my work got canceled. And so that was a very scary time. Not really the best. And so there were,
you know what, it gave you time to make music, to write, compose,
exactly,
and
yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly. So I mean, in a silver,
Kind of.
yeah, yes,
Silver lining, yes.
yes. So basically, that I feel that gave an opportunity to a lot of artists to find the time to sit down and work on many things that you have in the plans, but you never have time, because in normal times there's so many things that you need to take care of that sometimes you don't have even the focus. So that probably gave an opportunity for that also.
Yeah. Well, on to positive mindset. After your parallel dimension release, what can we expect from yourself and the band? Do you have any other projects coming up? Any visuals coming up? Any gigs? I mean, visuals, actually. We didn't touch upon visuals, but are you going to do any more music video? Like, are you going to do music videos alongside some of these album tracks, or
so yeah, speaking about music videos, one music video that I would love to do is another collaboration with an art director from New York City, with whom we created the Joriki music video. One of my Adrian H. Tillman, great artist, an incredible art director that exactly knows what he's doing. Great artist. I would love to create a short film based on memories of the future. So that's something that it's in my mind. We actually don't have a plan yet, because right now we're just we just actually come from a very busy weekend where we launched our new album. This past weekend we had shows in Cambridge in Massachusetts, in Providence, Rhode Island. We're playing in Maine at a place called Blue Jazz in Portland, Maine, the capital of Maine, Portland. So we're staying busy with the album launch right now, and in reality, a little side story. I'm already thinking about my fourth album with Meridian 71 too. So,
Right, right, right.
um,
People
and
forget also, you know, when you're releasing projects, a lot of the time it's been written quite a while back. So you're constantly writing, right? So I know that you probably have a lot of ideas and material probably ready to go, but you only released this last week, I think it is, or it was, you
yeah,
know,
exactly.
slightly over the week. So yeah, I'm sure this is kind of the focus, but it's exciting to see where else you'll be going with all the projects you've lined up.
Yeah, thank you so much, actually. Yeah, but I'm, you know, as you were saying, we were saying it's not an easy path, and sometimes you think, well, do I really want to keep doing this because it's so hard? And but yes, you do.
You do. You should as well. The music is incredible. So if anyone is watching back, please do go and support the album. It's incredible. Where can we find you on socials? And you're on
um,
Spotify,
yeah,
SoundCloud, Bandcamp.
so yeah, we are on Facebook. I do have my artist page, Giuseppe Paradiso and Meridian 71. So that's the artist page. You can find me on Facebook, my personal profile, which is actually where I'm active the most in reality, because I post almost on a daily basis with my personal account, and it's just my name, Giuseppe Paradiso. I'm on Instagram, Giuseppe Paradiso too. And I'm my personal website. My music can be found pretty much all over the internet. This album has been published under the Ubuntu music label from London, actually, and is worldwide distributed by the Orchard, and the Orchard is owned by Sony. The album is accessible all over the world on Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, Bandcamp. I do have albums on Bandcamp, and it can be found in digital. It can be streamed, downloaded, or also can be bought on a CD compact disc, which actually I may have a copy here, comes with this beautiful artwork that a very dear friend of mine that has done my last two albums created, and her name is Samantha Bruce, and she's an incredible visual artist, and this is her
Yes,
design.
yes, I love
It's
it.
an incredible
Yeah, amazing. Okay,
artwork.
we can find that on your website if we want to.
Yeah, so basically going on my website, you have then all links that can connect you to Bandcamp, can connect you, and so this is the compact disc,
Love it, love it.
and this is the artwork inside.
You know,
That's
I
all
love
that.
that. I love that. I love. I mean, I guess it's a bit of a retro thing now, where people are getting vinyls and CDs. But for me, it's very nostalgic because I loved getting CDs with little album packs, which have the lyrics or have the description. So it's amazing that you're still doing that.
I
But thank you. All the
yeah,
links. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
yeah, no. Can I just add one more thing? I know that people don't buy CDs anymore. Everybody listens to music on internet. That's fine, but you are missing one very important thing. You are missing the artwork. You are missing all credits. You don't know anymore who plays on that record. You don't see any photos of the artists. You don't see a lot of things. So I'm also with you there.
Yes. Yes, please do go. And I feel like artists need to be supported as much as we can, which is why I mentioned also the Bandcamp because of just the way not to get political, but compared to other streaming platforms, it really gives back to artists a lot more than some of the platforms. But that doesn't mean don't stream. Please stream. Please go buy the CD, and I'll have all the links in the description. Giuseppe, it was so wonderful to talk to you and wonderful to connect. I'm so excited about your album, seeing where this goes. And I'll definitely be following your journey in music. 20, 30 years time, I'm sure you'll have a lot more projects to share with us. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to speak with you too.